Good afternoon, this is Lois Prettyman, your favorite silk artist, here to show you how to take care of your silk. And by that I mean how to properly wash and press and chemically fix the green label dyes if that's what you're using to fix your silk dyes. I apologize in advance. I have a lot of ambient noises. We have a couple of grandfather clocks in the background and my husband's outside doing some leaf blowing. So I apologize. My video qualities are not very good. I'm learning as I'm going with regard to video production and videography. So bear with me. I'm going to show you exactly what it is we need in order to get started. So I have two pieces here, and if you saw my video from yesterday, I showed you how to steam set the silk dyes in a pressure steamer. And I have two items here. The first is a silk organza piece. It's only a yard wide that I painted multiple colors with the intention of cutting out discs and making silk flowers. So that's what I'm going to do with this piece of silk organza. And then I have my imaginary purple butterfly dress, which has been a long ongoing project. It's roughly about 72 inches. I believe I'm going to turn it into a dress or Rowana. I still haven't decided. I'm going to try to see how it comes out. And I'm probably going to doctor it up after this. But for right now, I'm just going to show you how to wash the silk and prepare it to be sold. So, okay. The major things you need are your steam set silk. Oh, I did get some water spots on there, but I think it'll be okay because I'm just about to launder this. Your steam set silk. You need to have a clean towel. It doesn't have to be your best towel because you may get dye on it eventually, inevitably, if you use it for this purpose. And this is going to be to scrunch out your silk when you're done. And then also, I do two things. First of all, after I steam set and let the silk sit for a day, as an added precaution, use this Jacquard Permanent Dye Set Concentrate, which is a specific concentrate that you use with the green label dyes. You can use it in lieu of steaming, but I actually use it in addition to steaming. Maybe it's superstition, I don't know, but this method works for me. I'm able to keep as much of the color and pigment in the silk by using this method, doing the steaming and then doing the dye set concentrate. You may opt out of this, I don't know, it depends on what dyes you're using, but I do this first. And then I use what is called Synthropol. In order to wash the silk, you need to use a milder soap. If you use baby shampoo, it's a milder soap, but it doesn't really do a very good job at getting all of the excess dye out of the silk. So it's good for caring for the silk if you're washing in between uses or whatever and you don't have anything else. But I would recommend that if you're going to commercially be a commercial silk artist, that you get yourself some Synthropol. That's probably the best detergent I find for silk garments. And especially when you're doing that first washing after you've set all your dyes, you want to get all that excess dye out that has not chemically bonded with the silk. And there's always going to be some excess dye. So Synthropol, I think, is the best item. Both of these items you can get at Dharma Trading Company. I get all my supplies from Dharma Trading Company. I think they're wonderful. They have a very short shipping time. They've only once gotten my order wrong, and they immediately made it right when I contacted them. So I'm all for Dharma Trading Company. So the first thing you need to do is do the dye set concentrate. I'm going to do the small organza first. And I'd like to do them separately because I don't like my dyes mixing. I don't know if that's an OCD thing. I usually use, I'm going to say about 1/4 of a cup of dye-set concentrate to about 1 gallon of water. And I used to use cold water with the dye-set concentrate because I felt that the dye-set concentrate worked better. But I usually use hot water now, and the reason why I use the hot water is because the hot water dissolves the Nujicard resist that's sort of glue like I was telling you about. And when you soak it in warm water, that stuff just kind of comes away. It just sort of dissolves away. So that's why I use hot water now with the dye-set concentrate. And then the first item I'm going to do is soak this silk organza that we're using for silk flowers. I'm going to change the position of the camera. So you can see I've had this soaking for about a minute, and some of the dye will naturally come out. I usually soak this in the dye-set concentrate at least 5 minutes, and sometimes I agitate it. Usually, if you agitate it a little bit, make sure that the concentrate gets to all the pieces of silk throughout. That's a good thing. Okay, so now this piece of fabric has been soaking in the dye-set concentrate for 5 minutes, and I'm just going to squeegee it out and let my water out. And I like to rinse it with warm water. And I just keep rinsing until I see that the water is kind of coming out clean versus, now it's got a little bit of a green tint right now. And then now we're gonna actually wash this piece. And I put a little center pall in it to get it bubbled up. It's warm water. And you can see that the water is still green, so we've still got some dye here. We're going to try to wash it out as best we can. This organza will not hold a lot of dye to begin with, just because it's a very thin fabric. Now, if you have resist lines, you're going to have to scrub quite a bit. If you soak it for several minutes, you'll find that some of that gluey stuff will just start to disintegrate, and then the rest can be helped along with a little bit of scrubbing and rinsing. Okay. So I think I've washed this sufficiently. I could probably use this water over again. It's not too bad. Sometimes I will do the soaking and dye concentrate for all my pieces first, and then come back and wash. And if I can salvage the water for a second scarf, I usually work from lighter to darker. That way I don't have any nasty brown colors, and all my colors are still all nice and vibrant and bright. So then I rinse the soap out with cold water. That will get rid of all these extra bubbles. And it looks to me like, now that I'm squeezing it, it's coming out pretty clear. So I think we're good. And you just squeegee it. Don't wring the silk, just squeegee it. And then the next step would be to squeegee it in a towel. So I've got this towel here. I'm going to kind of fold this up. And sort of roll it up in the towel. And then I will squeegee this and set it aside to iron right away. So we're going to set that aside. We'll do this other guy, and then we'll come back and I'll show you how to iron. I've got this imaginary purple butterfly dress, and I wanted to show you this. This is where the resist kind of soaks off. And so you have to give it a little nudge and sort of rub it off. It gets sort of gummy, and then you just have to kind of rub it off. And then it'll soak off and rinse off. And there's a lot of this, so I'm going to be here for a while. I just wanted to see, I just wanted you to see what it looks like. So I'm going to rinse this whole, rub all this resistad off and rinse it really, really, really well. Right now it's still soaking in the dye-set concentrate. When I get it, the water, when I rinse it and the water comes out fairly clean, I don't know if I'm going to be able to get it completely clean, but because this is very thick, then I will wash it with a Synthropol. Here I've got this butterfly dress in the Synthropol, and you can still see the water's fairly yucky. So I'm just going to have to keep rinsing and rinsing and rinsing until I get this water to come out clear. That's going to take me a while. So I don't know how this looks, but what I have here is my scrunched out fabric. So it's fairly damp. It's a little bit damp, but most of the wetness has been scrunched out. And there's just enough here that I can iron this without steam on my iron. I don't like to use steam in my iron because it creates these water spots on the silk sometimes. So I make sure that the silk is wet when I've scrunched it out, and then I have my iron on no more than a medium heat setting. If you have it on high, you're going to burn your silk and then you're going to cry. So basically all I need to do now is on medium heat with my fairly damp silk, iron it. And I'll do that with both pieces. So I told you don't turn your iron up more than halfway to medium, but I'm actually pushing it a little bit between 4 and 5 on my iron. And the reason is because this is crepe de chine, is very thick, and so it's very densely packed with water, and so you can afford to push the temperature up a little bit more on this. And you just basically patiently run your iron over it until all of the water has evaporated, and taking great care not to burn the silk by sitting on a particular spot for any length of time. We just do that whole garment, and that's going to take me a while. So, okay, so I have ironed this piece, and I still, honestly, I say it's a dress, but I still don't know what it's going to be. I noticed a couple snags, and I'm trying to figure out what to do. So what I'm going to do with this piece is hang it in my living room and stare at it for a while, and then I can determine what it is that I'm going to do and how I'm going to cut it and hem it. So initially I wanted to punch up this butterfly because he's imaginary, but he's a very boring imaginary purple butterfly. I want to make him as psychedelic as the orange background. And so I'm going to use some metallic paints on him. But first I want to do the dress. I want to do the dress, I want to hem the dress, and then I'll come back and put paints on.